feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's
Fun.
Open wide for some soccer.
I don't care what you think about what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the Cowboys.
Call this college rules.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. Dom and Chris here. Just a couple of local comics here in Tucson, Arizona, who like talking sports. Recording down here at Engle Studio, which is downtown for all of your recording needs and audio needs. Before we begin, as always, if you do us a huge solid, click on that subscribe button so you can catch up on the latest episodes and pump those numbers up for us. We would really appreciate it. And we're in the midst of our Fathers and Sons series, Chris.
Yeah, man, we're right in the middle of a block of a series of episodes, Father and Sons in Sports. So I guess it kind of leads into it because, I mean, there's only one guy we can talk to after Bobby Bonds. Who are we talking about?
Gary Bonds.
Gary Bonds, the third baseman. He's a defensive threat.
Off the bench, utility man. No, we're talking Barry Bonds today. Obviously holds numerous amounts of Major League Baseball records and quite the controversial character, if you have not heard of him, but I'm sure many of you have.
He is all records and controversy.
All records, all controversy, all being a dick.
Yes, it's crazy.
Let's jump right in, though. Barry Bonds, born July 24th, 1964, to Barry Lamar Bonds, who we did our last episode on, and Mom Patricia, born in Riverside, California. And as we discussed in the Bobby episode, quite the athletic family.
Yes, this is a family of super athletes where, I mean, like we see
baseball, football, track, pretty much everything.
Yeah, we see this with a lot of these guys where they pretty much can go any way. I saw an interview with him where he said he was debating not going into baseball even though he knew it was his best sport because he didn't want to follow in his dad's, shadow, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, at least he's not a junior, though.
Yeah, that's true.
That's very true.
He's just a Bonds, baby.
And his godfather is Willie Mays, who was his dad's longtime Giants teammate. And both of them will come back into play later as far as Barry's upbringing and kind of how he carries himself around people who he doesn't consider as good as
equal.
Him.
Yeah. He really thought that about a lot of his teammates, was that he was above them.
Above them in a lot of ways.
82, he gets drafted.
Well, let's go into his childhood a little bit. I've always found this interesting because his dad, as we talked about, he played like a decade and a half in the major leagues. So he grew up with his mom, and the family and neighborhood in Riverside kind of raised him. One of those Hillary Clinton, it takes a village, everybody. Brothers Ricky and Bobby Jr. Bobby was a minor league ball player as well. In 1969, though, the family moves to San Carlos in the Bay Area, and while Barry tried to put on a facade of being this tough kid from Riverside in the L.A. County area, he's a rich kid up there.
Yes.
It's a very affluent area, and he tries to put on this kind of facade and rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
He definitely, I feel like, just has problems since he was a kid, just like meshing with people.
Yeah, like relating to people.
Yes.
He was a decent student, yet he always dominated at sports. Seemingly a bully. One of his teachers described whether it was playing foursquare or dodgeball, he played to win. He basically had that White Goodman attitude of, I'm better than you, and I know it.
Yes, seriously, though.
But he was. That was the other part. At 10 years old in Little League, he was already a dominant hitter. His coach said it was as if he appeared from basically just another planet. You knew he was going to be a star at an early age.
Well, and this is what he was talking about. He was just like, baseball was obviously my best sport, but growing up with a professional, especially because his dad was really a great...
His dad was a fantastic player.
That's what I mean. He's one of these players that, people look back on. You can check out our episode and be like, this guy could play in this era and in this era. So he was talking about, he's just like, I don't want to follow him. But like you were saying, even when it was like Little League, they were like, oh, no. This kid could
he might be better.
Yeah.
So 1978, he attends Junipero Serra High School.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't know, it is also a high school of another great sports Satan by the name of Tom Brady. So something's in the water out there, I feel like. I think that's where the Antichrist went to school.
Well, two very similar athletes,
His high school coach, Tim Walsh, said he wanted to be great. A lot of kids just wanted to play, and that wasn't enough for him. So he kind of sees that baseball is his path to fame and success. And I've heard Jeff Pearlman talk about this, where growing up with a godfather and a father who played in the major leagues at a very high level. Willie Mays might be one of the 5 best baseball players to ever play. You grow up with that sense of entitlement and dickishness.
Yes, and this is what kind of came out of this high school. But I feel like this idea of like, well, I'm going to be a pro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was probably told to him when he was like in like early middle school, like, no, I'm going to play professional sports. And I can't imagine how much he looked down on these other guys. Like his high school coach was saying, it was just like, I just wanted to play some ball with my friends.
This seemed like a fun springtime activity. Get out of here, you Nancy. But baseball was a sport, although he did play basketball and football. As a senior, he hit .467 with 14 dingers and I believe 42 RBIs. But he acted like a general asshole. He was late to practices, skipped practices, and showed up on home runs to other pitchers, which isn't a great way to make friends. And as we'll get into later, when everybody's riding him for his attitude, and he's like, but I'm great. Everyone has to like me. Why don't people like me?
That's the thing that I can tell is almost like sociopathic with him, where he's just like, I don't understand why these people don't like me. It's just like, you have been an asshole to them for the last 6 months. What are you talking about?
You know how people like videotape alcoholics to kind of show them what they're like when they're drunk? Somebody just should have had a camera on Barry Bonds at all times and been like, this is why people don't care for you. One scout even wrote, who went to these games, because obviously he's going to be drafted and probably pretty high, because, you got a left-handed power-hitting outfielder, definite 5-tool player. You're going to get drafted.
Speed, with the defense.
The scout wrote under the attitude and basically intangible section, just asshole.
Yeah, it's ridiculously accurate. That's the thing where I figure the scout's not trying to be a dick. He's literally like, no, this kid, he's an asshole. If we bring him in, he could be a problem in the locker room.
Yeah, it's not like he's denigrating him. He's just letting the general manager, the other scouts, and the coaching staff know, like, hey, this is how this guy acts. Mm-hmm. So heading into the 82 draft, as we discussed before, he chooses his father, Bobby, as his advisor, which is a very interesting move.
Well, I feel like it is accurate in the sense that he's in baseball still.
He's in baseball, but he does have that kind of reputation now as, kind of the booze hound, kind of a dick like Barry was.
Well, that's the other thing is I feel like they almost he can like understand each other and be like, no, I'm an asshole. You're an asshole.
Apple doesn't fall too far from that outfield tree, if you know what I mean. So in round 2, he drops because his stock drops because of, I can only assume either because his dad was his advisor or because he's just a huge dick.
All of the above.
Or all of the above. The Giants end up taking him. Bobby's old team and Willie Mays' old team.
Which is kind of why I feel like they know. They're like, look, this is a carbon copy of what Bobby was.
Just left-handed.
Which is even better for us. And that's the thing that you imagine what they're thinking. They're like, he might be an asshole today.
But you know what? He's not a drinker.
That's true.
Barry, so they're probably like, you know what? He may rub people the wrong way, but that's one less thing to worry about.
Very true.
Because we talked in the Bobby episode about Horace Stoneham and the Glenn Dickey quote. Like, they probably didn't think he'd play much longer for him.
Yeah.
So it comes to a head, though, because the Giants offer a $70,000 signing bonus, but Bobby and Barry are holding out for $75,000. And it comes to such a head that they say hell no, and he remains unsigned. And Barry has to go play college baseball.
Well, we were talking about how ridiculous this is on both ends. So it's not just Barry, it's not just the Giants, it's both of them not getting this deal done over $5,000, which on the grand scheme of things for the Giants is nothing. And for this guy coming up who's obviously going to be making a good amount of money, it's nothing. So it's just
and this isn't like separated by like six figures.
Yes,
either.
exactly.
It's not like it's like, oh, this guy maybe was hurt, but he played at a high level. It's like $5,000.
Yeah.
And as I said in the Bobby episode, after he leaves the Giants in, I think, 74, after the 74 season, they go into a massive tailspin. They are terrible through the late 70s and really early 80s. So, like, to get a generational player like this and lose out on him for $5K, even in those days, that's ridiculous.
It really is just bad management, whatever you want to call it. And it's,
yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but one thing I wanted to bring up, though, is the Giants start drafting really well during this era.
Yes.
By 87, they win the NL West and almost advance to the World Series. By 89, they're in the World Series. They have stars like Will Clark, Matt Williams, a good pitching staff. What do you think Barry Bonds could have done for them during that time period? And granted, we'll bring up the Giants later, obviously. But if he was there in the 80s, my God, that would have been really special.
Yeah, they could have definitely won some World Series. It definitely could have been a different Giants team.
Yeah,
through that era where Bonds was just killing it.
Yeah, absolutely. But he has to attend college, and where does he go, Chris?
Goes to ASU.
Yes, he does.
The scholarly destination for all of those out west.
Yes, the Harvard of the Sonora Desert.
There you go. That's the one I'm looking for.
Already a starter as a freshman, but Barry walks in. I mean, he should not have been playing college baseball.
No, he should have been in the minor leagues.
And I think it's only more of a detriment to him that he went to college because it probably brings out even more of his asshole tendencies that I'm better than you and I know it.
Absolutely. You should see some of the just stories from the team, and we'll get into the famous one, but just like some of the ones where literally this guy's mom cooks some homemade food, he brings it in, and Barry eats it. Like it's all of it.
The
like,
only ally
it's crazy.
he had on this team was the head coach who was looking to win. The coach tried to make up excuses like, well, it was kind of a white team and there were some redneck vibes. It's like, okay, well, that's not okay. Being an asshole doesn't make it okay.
But he was just straight up hated, but he was the best player by miles.
He starts as a freshman and he leads the team in home runs and RBIs. But his coach said, the famous quote, I don't think he ever figured out what to do to get people to like him.
That's like sums up Barry's like interaction with people.
Like he was skipping practice, he kind of skated around the rules. He acted like basically the big man on campus.
He also said that he was just like, it's true. They pass you if you're a star athlete in classes. He was making those kind of just like, no, it's true.
Well, that's why I said, to me, it kind of sucks because he should be in, high A ball or double A by his sophomore year of college.
Yep. Well, he said he majored in baseball. That was like the jokes he would say. He was just like, I didn't go to class. It was just like, yeah, all right.
No, he came here to do one thing because the Giants wouldn't give him $5,000.
Can I be honest? He came to do two. Baseball, fuck it.
Oh, yeah. And as everyone knows, Barry Bonds knows how to fuck.
As everyone knows, ASU is the Florida of the, I don't know.
Florida man stuff. So by 84, though, he's rubbed everyone kind of the wrong way enough where the team has a vote to kick him off the team. The coach brought it to the team thinking, there's no way they'll want to get rid of the best player in college baseball who's on our team.
I really thought you hear the coach and he's just like, no. I put this to kind of like rally us together and be like, we want him to be on our team. How many votes did he get?
0. 0 to stay.
And
they all wanted the best player in college.
This is what fucks up a team, though, to think of it. They're like, all right, because the coach ends up letting him stay. But he's literally like, you guys vote if we keep him or not. They're like, we don't want him. He's like, all right, so he's staying.
So we get to keep him.
Yep.
There should just be, his autobiography should be like, Barry Bonds, how to hit dingers and alienate people.
Yep.
So in 84, they go to the College World Series. While they end up losing, he does set a college NCAA record for hits in 7 straight at-bats. And college pitching, especially at this time, he's feasting on it. These are guys who probably don't even get drafted who he'd be facing in like high A or double A ball, like I was saying before. In 85, the team has some violations, so there's no postseason, but he still hits .368 with 23 dingers, 66 RBIs, second team All-American, and then says goodbye.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, he really should have. So he should have after his freshman year.
Well, he had 3 years of eligibility. Use them up, and then
go
get drafted higher, and don't quibble with salary demands.
So we get to the 85 draft.
86.
86.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. No, 85 draft. You're
Yep.
right. Yeah. So he's picked 6th overall by the Pittsburgh Pirates. $150,000 signing bonus, and well, he pretty much just starts tearing it up.
Well, I thought this was because Bobby's still in his ear. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's his drunk father. I thought it was so interesting. He gets drafted by the Pirates. Bobby says, this is literally what happens. He goes, that sucks. And Barry goes, what are you talking about? He goes, the Pirates have a shitty organization. They're just coming off of this drug trial.
Yeah.
They went from being like first to worst. That's what Bobby was talking about. He was just like, you don't want to go to a shitty team. And Barry, because he really thought it out, he was just like, no, I do want to go to a shitty team.
Well, they're starting to put some pieces together along with Barry at this time.
And that's what he was talking about. He was like, I don't want to go to an already formed team and have to like take this starter spot. I want to go with them being like, here's our fucking, because he actually starts in center field, but it's like, here's our outfielder who's coming up. We're going to put him in essentially like
he's going to play right away.
I was going to say they fast tracked him.
Yeah.
And like that's what he was saying to his dad. He's just like, you're not seeing this. This is a great opportunity for me. And I love that because like you were saying, Bobby might not have had the best baseball mind for this.
Well, at this point, he probably didn't. But 85, he plays for Prince William in the Carolina League because, well, it's more democratic that way, Chris.
Can I be honest? He had a little help from this woman, and this was the only time that she had an African American because she said he had a bat up the middle and she wasn't talking.
Most know her as Tim Robbins' grandmother. He hits
Holy shit, is that Tim Robbins' grandmother?
He hits .299 with 13 dingers. At 86, he's promoted.
Going to Hawaii.
Yeah, he's promoted to Hawaii, the Hawaii Islanders at the time.
That's one minor league team that you would have to be like, this is awesome.
They were actually an affiliate of the Padres, I think, right before this because Tony Gwynn played for them.
Oh,
too.
Yeah.
He has 44 games, hits .311, and, well, 7 dingers, and by... Well, the early part of the season, he's already called up.
I was going to say, they were so ready for him to come up. This is what he said. He was like, he envisioned this. He was just like, I'm not staying in the minors long for this Pirates team.
There was a great story about general manager Sid Thrift, the one who discovered Bobby Bonilla. Go listen to that episode where he was hitting dingers in batting practice. He hit like 6 straight over the right field wall, and he said, well, any decent hitter can pull the ball. And then Barry proceeds to hit 5 more opposite field over the left field fence, and Barry's response was typical Barry Bonds, and he said, is that good enough for you? That's like the most Russell Crowe, are you not entertained?
Seriously, though, but he is very just like that, where if you try to be a dick to him, he's just going to throw it right back in your face.
He's called up May 30th, 1986. And he's your ultimate 5-tool guy. And the interesting thing about Barry at this point in his career, he's about 6'1", 190, 200 pounds. And they have him hitting leadoff.
Yeah.
Which he fit like a glove at this point.
I was going to say, they're envisioning him like his father. He's fast. He can hit the shit out of a ball. He is very much like the guys you see nowadays where they're fast and they can really hit a ball. But I have to say... This is because the Pirates organization is really in a downfall. They were saying their attendance was down to like 10,000 a year.
Oh, yeah. Nobody wanted to go to Pirates games at that point, especially after the drug trial.
Yeah.
And, like, who wants to go to a game where the Pirate Parrot is not dealing cocaine?
Drugs, yeah. You have to
room?
bring your own cocaine.
I think they had a bring your own cocaine night.
Yeah, they did. We'll do an episode on it. But
there wasn't a dancing Homer. It was just dancing cocaine.
It's this like re-energizing this franchise where you're like, oh, this is going to be our guy. And right away, he does great. You know?
223 batting average, but he has 16 dingers, 26 doubles, 48 RBIs, and 36 stolen bases.
Yep.
So he's already like the left-handed version of his dad and his godfather. In 87, though, they make a move for their outfield because while Barry is playing center, he's not the greatest defender as far as his arm is good, but it's not what you want out of a center fielder. And to compensate for that, he plays in a lot and has a lot of balls hit over his head. So they bring in all-star center fielder Andy Van Slyke in 87 in a trade with the St. Louis Cardinals. And one of the things they had mentioned was the balls would roll for days when Barry was in center field.
Yeah.
But that season, he hit 261, 99 runs, career-high 9 triples. Take that, Frank Thomas. 25 dingers and 32 stolen bases. And the Pirates are starting to put together a pretty good team at this point. In 88, he improves his defense a bit. Van Slyke even commented he willed himself to be a great defensive player.
Because he didn't, like you were saying, he didn't come in as a good defensive player. That's why they moved him to left field.
And I think that was a lot of his just like, do I really need to?
Especially in college, I bet he just literally, it was just like Ted Williams out there just swinging.
Yeah.
Looking off.
He's
just
probably
like
picking daisies.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like, I'm not playing defense.
Hits 283, 24 homers, scores 97 runs. In 89, has just as good of a decent season. 34 doubles, 19 homers, 58 RBIs. But this is when we start moving into asshole Barry Bonds.
Something I want to say though that I actually really, because he is a real showman with his thing. With the 89 opener, they went from not having a big opener to having like a record 52,000, and he ripped a home run, I think on like 6 opening days, which is such a weird little statistic, but that's like something that he does where you're just like, oh yeah, he does. This is like a kind of like a show. But you're right, this is when the Pirates organization, because I imagine he's a little bit like a rookie for the first couple of years, and then he's just like, no, I'm Barry Bonds.
Well, and this is when the fan base kind of starts turning on his personality, not necessarily him, the player. In 1990, he moves to 5th in the batting order, has arguably his best season to date. He's an all-star, Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, led the NL in slugging, OPS plus. 33 dingers, 114 RBIs, 52 stolen bases with a 301 batting average.
That to look at the man that you see in 2006, to think that he had 52 in a season is crazy. But hey, that's,
you got Bonilla and Van Slyke around him.
Just gonna say, this is a really good team.
They win the NL East.
They win the NL East for their first time in a while. They're back humming, but they end up losing to the Reds.
Not only do they lose to the Reds, but this creates a narrative about Barry Bonds and his postseason play really for the next decade or so.
Yeah.
Goes only 3 for 18 with 1 RBI, losing to the eventual champion Reds in 6 games. Now, granted, Cincinnati probably had a better ball club, a little bit more juice on their team, but still a great season for the Pirates. And you're thinking, all right, the next few seasons we can make a run, because at this point, the front office decides to give Andy Van Slyke a nice little new contract, but not Barry and Bobby Bonilla.
This is the point where an organization makes these like decisions that really cost them later on, because now is the point that they needed to give these guys these contracts so they like weren't about to go into free agency and demand too much money, because the Pirates aren't a ridiculously rich franchise.
Cheap bastards.
They are.
And still remain so today.
Yes.
And granted, I don't know if they would have ever had the capital to sign Bonds, but they should have at least made an effort, because heading into 91, as we talked about in the other episode, this is Bonilla's last contractual year with Pittsburgh before he hits free agency. Bonds still has 1 more to go, but it's like the window is now.
Yes.
And in 91, Bonds likely should have been the MVP this year. It went to Terry Pendleton, but a lot of it was because Bonilla also had a really good season for them.
I saw the numbers, and I thought it was really weird, because this is one where you're like, that he really was hitting and had the Gold Glove again, which you have to look at, and you have to be like, his offense and defense didn't win him that. So this is when, and I hate to say it, but this is kind of when a narrative starts to build around Barry not being liked across the board.
Yeah.
So, like, they're like, no, he got second. Good for him. You're just like, good for him. He was, like, the best player that whole season.
Well, these sports writers, as I've discussed before, are quite sensitive assholes.
Completely ethical men who will never be swayed.
But listen to this. 25 homers, 116 RBIs, 107 walks, and leads the NL in on-base percentage, OPS, and OPS+. Pirates win the division again.
Yep.
And then we get to the NLCS and the Dream Crusher Atlanta Braves. We've discussed it in the Bonilla episode. We've discussed it in our Steve Avery episode. This is the series where Avery wins the MVP because he absolutely shuts the Pirates down, most notably Bonds, in these games, in the lefty-lefty matchups. The Pirates end up losing in 7 games. Bonds goes 4 for 27 in this series. And, yeah, the season's over for them. And
Bonilla's gone. Yeah.
Bonilla's gone, but this is the second one in a row, postseason in a row, where Barry keeps talking like, oh, I'll turn things around, and it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen for him. And at this point, he's starting to piss off his manager, Jim Leland, and during this offseason, the Pirates try to get rid of him.
They had a trade laid out.
This is as bad as Fred McGriff for a washing machine, what this trade was. Pittsburgh was going to send him to Atlanta for Alejandro Pena, Keith Mitchell, and a player to be named later. Not any of Atlanta's stars.
No, literally rotation guys. And Leland had to step in and be like, this is the stupidest move that you could do.
He probably went, I get it. He's a dick.
Yeah.
But he's still on our team. We have one more chance.
And so and this is the thing, like, the trade was so cemented that we know the players that were going. The owners were into it, and Leland steps in and be like, look, this is literally the stupidest trade we could do. Just let him go free next year.
Yeah, I mean, granted, they probably wanted something as compensation, and also they're cheap bastards. But you could still get to and win a World Series with Barry Bonds.
Yes.
So 92 just wins another MVP, his second in 3 years.
Hits 311.
Leads the NL in runs, hits 34 homers, 103 RBIs, led Major League Baseball in walks. And this will come up later in his career when things start to happen.
Well, when he becomes the walk master.
Well, I'll say this about Bonds. I don't think I've ever seen a Major League Baseball player with better plate discipline than him.
Yeah. No, seriously.
As amazing as Frank Thomas was, Barry Bonds is the best.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bar none the best. Led MLB in on-base percentage, slugging, OPS, and intentional walks. And they win the division again, and who do they match up with, Chris?
Get right back in it with the Braves, which you think about. Let me say this, because Pirates aren't getting there without Bonds.
No.
But if they make that trade, that Braves team is unbelievable.
That Braves team, we're not talking a repeat or a three-peat. We're talking minimum 8-peat.
It's literally crazy. I'm just saying, I bet Atlanta was over there like, no, they're going to trade us for nothing.
Yes.
They're going to trade them for nothing.
Here's the bag of magic beans that they don't know how to open.
Go. So they meet the Braves again, goes to 7.
Well, the interesting thing about this series, though, is Atlanta takes a 3-1 series lead. Pittsburgh has to scratch and claw in games 5 and 6, one of which Barry hits his first postseason home run. It's only his third try, Chris. And they take it to Game 7, where they take a 2-0 lead into the bottom of the 9th inning. And through Doug Drabek getting pulled, Stan Belinda coming in, an error by Jose Lind, and some timely hitting, including Francisco Cabrera, who drives in possibly the slowest man in MLB history in Sid Bream from second base on a single to left center, positioned where Andy Van Slyke told him to play, but Barry allegedly gave him the middle finger.
I was just going to say, so this is the rumor that happened. Barry says this isn't true, but this is Barry saying it. But literally, I feel like you can watch it on tape where he's like, he's like pointing and he's like, right there, you idiot. And he's just like, no. So he's back far enough. And like you were saying, he doesn't have
too close to the line.
He doesn't have a ridiculous arm. So he can't compensate this.
And this isn't, one of Atlanta's speedier guys who beats a good throw. I mean, it's a decent throw, but it doesn't have enough mustard.
No, a little off center, a bouncer, everything you don't want in a game-saving throw.
Just the fact that his Pirates career ended that way and how much people disliked him knowing that he was leaving, that had to just be soul-crushing as a Buccos fan. So they miss out on the World Series, and, Barry's a free agent and gets to pick wherever he wants to play.
I want to say he did win an award as
a
Pirate. Most despised Pirate. So he was definitely hated at this point in his career. It wasn't something that happened later when he put on all that natural muscle.
Ooh, yeah.
It was like, he was hated back then because he really was a jerk to...
We're talking about the body mass and Predator, Mac.
That's true.
But...
I just don't want to have a discussion about body mass.
I mean, we haven't seen the Transporter 1. But
that's all right. We won't be lost.
So this offseason, he gets to go to a new... And here's the thing I'll talk about as far as Pittsburgh sports fans. You can be a gigantic asshole, but if you give the fan base the impression that you're working really hard and that you're giving it 100%, not that Barry wasn't doing it, but like James Harrison slapped his wife for baptizing their child. I mean... To be that hated, but that good, man, that takes a special kind of asshole, Chris.
He really does. It's a unique skill that he has.
Barry Bonds has got talent, Chris.
So he finally gets to go to the Giants. The Giants are waiting for this.
Well, he saves their franchise.
I was just going to say, so like with the Pirates coming in, the Pirates are on this downslope. Everything's going to shit. He revitalizes this fucking franchise. San Francisco were about to pull a major league. And they were about to go to Florida. And this isn't even a joke.
This Petersburg.
This is one of the major teams that was literally on such a bad run. And financially, they got bought out, right?
Yeah, well, they ended up getting bought by, I think, Peter McGowan. What ended up happening was it's not like their team was bereft of talent like the Pirates were. They had all-stars and good players, kind of holdovers from those late 80s teams and younger guys coming up to play. They just weren't financially viable at that time. They needed some cash pumped into the organization, and, they brought Barry back. They brought him back to the Bay Area. 6 years, $43 million.
Well, this is the thing that was lucky for them because if he went into free agency a couple of years earlier, they couldn't have done this.
No, not at all.
They get bought out. Barry goes into free agency. All of the stars align. He goes to San Francisco where he gets his dog.
Why do you think those fans don't hate him? As the only fan base and only baseball fans that do not hate him and will ignore certain things about his career, which we'll go
that's
into
what
later.
I mean. He gets a dog when he goes to San Francisco. I think the dog's name is Balco. So
yes, Balco. Mm-hmm.
Come here, boy.
I believe his parrot's name was Conti.
So he signs the biggest deal in MLB at that point. 43 mil, 0.75.
Ooh, can't forget that 0.75
for 6 years. If you look at the deals nowadays, this is like
a minuscule drop in the bucket.
This is your relief pitcher.
So he has what does he do his first season? He just wins an MVP.
Well, and this is the thing that I feel like because he has all of this hatred in the news media, and I feel like they're talking shit like, oh, he's not on the Pirates anymore. It's not going to be the same. And he literally goes out and hits 336 with 46 home runs, 123 RBIs, and he wins his second consecutive MVP. And what he pretty much was saying was just like, I'm the best player in baseball right now.
Do you guys love me?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't? Well, I'm just gonna keep. Oh, let me just hit some dingers.
I feel like it's literally like everybody was just like, yeah, everybody can hit home runs to the right, and he was just like, yeah, you want to see me get my second MVP? Here's my second one.
He's the most Maximus fucking person in Major League Baseball. So the Giants are really good this year. I mean, they're running away with the NL West. Even at the All-Star game, he was talking shit to John Smoltz, one of the Braves pitchers, and saying, you're not going to catch us because now he's in the same division as him. Unfortunately for Barry, despite that MVP, Gold Glove, and Silver Slugger, the Braves decide to be really good down the stretch.
The thing that is said about this, which I absolutely love, is this is the last great pennant race.
Oh, yeah.
Because they bring the wild card in the next season, And if you look at these two teams, they literally are like 1 and 2 in the MLB almost.
What was I going to say? In that division on the last day of the season, Atlanta and the Giants are tied with 103 victories. Atlanta earlier in the day, they go and beat the expansion Rockies to have 104. The Giants and manager Dusty Baker, who was friends with Barry's dad, Bobby, and Bobby's a coach right now on the Giants. He's, I believe, their first base coach.
Yep.
They send rookie Solomon Torres. I think he had less than 10 starts his entire career to the mound against the Dodgers, and they basically Uncle Slippy fist him.
Yeah, they peppered him, and people are saying, like, do we not want to play postseason ball? Like, it's a weird thing where you look at it, and you're just like, well, they put their effort in. We're not putting our effort in. Like,
it's not like you won 103 games and lost, or like that Mariners team that won like 116 and lost in the NL or the ALCS.
Yep.
They did not even make a CS. Like,
it's crazy.
Going into 94, even though there's a strike, because as we all know, baseball leads the league in walks and intentional walks, hits 312, 37 dingers, All-Star Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, 95 more of the same, leading the NL in walks, on-base percentage, OPS, 33 dingers, 31. He's a 30-30 machine, Chris.
He is a very solid 30-30 player at this point. And this is the thing I want to point out in this 90s run, because he becomes a different player. So we see in 96, it's his first 40-40 season.
Yeah.
And we know those seasons are only held by his dad, him,
well, his
Sasquatch
dad didn't do
Hunter.
it.
Oh, yeah, he didn't. He had 39. So you're right.
It's all it's Jose Canseco, Alex Rodriguez, and this is a name you're never going to guess, but this dude was a really solid ball player for a long time. Alfonso Soriano.
Oh, yeah.
And he did it with the Nationals, not even the Yankees.
I was just going to say he didn't do it with the Yankees. I remember that. But that's what I mean. He's in this rare club of what people say is a five-tool guy.
But this season he hits 308, 129 RBIs, 122 runs, over 1,000 OPS, leads the NL in walks and intentional walks, Gold Glove, Silver Slugger. You know where he finished in the MVP voting this year, Chris?
I think it was 5th, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I saw that and I was like, is this a joke? But this is literally what they're saying. They're like, no. He's first in all those stats. Greatest defender of the year. He's not the MVP. You're just like, all right.
I don't care how much of a dick he is to you. I don't care how lovable Ken Griffey Jr. is.
I do love Ken Griffey.
I love Ken Griffey Jr. too, but the 90s best baseball player is Barry Bonds.
Yes.
Like, without a doubt.
He gets in the 300-300 club. That's what happens that year with his dad.
Yeah,
and
Willie Mays, the only other guys.
And Andre Dawson. Those are the 4.
Oh, the Hawk. That's right.
Yep.
All of them Hall of Famers, except Bobby
I was going to say.
97, because the Giants were dog shit in 96. In 97, they actually win the NL West. I think they go worst to first. All-Star Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, 40 dingers again, and 37 stolen base. He almost follows up 40-40 with 40-40.
I know. He has another 30-30 season. They were saying this is like he's just like his dad, all of this kind of thing. But you were right. This is a weird Giants team because they went from everybody pretty much watching the Giants just for Barry Bonds to being like, oh, they got a pretty good team going. Like they really started to build on this,
And then they go to the postseason where Barry Bonds does some Barry Bonds things.
Yep.
Hits only 250 with 2 RBIs, and they're swept by the Marlins in that bizarre series. Loses to his buddy Bobby Bonilla in 97. 1998, we have a famous event on May 28th. The first time it had happened since 1944. They're playing the expansion Diamondbacks. And with the bases loaded, up by a couple of runs, Buck Showalter, the Diamondbacks manager, elects to walk him with the bases loaded.
Which is crazy, but at the same time, is it?
No. Not at all.
You could be saving 4 runs. That's the thing.
44 doubles, 37 dingers, hitting 303. The Giants have a decent season. This is the year San Diego wins, I think, like 98 games, though. So the Giants have to fight for the wild card, and they lose the play-in game to the Cubs of all teams. So no postseason for Barry in 98. And after this 98 season where we have this incredible home run chase between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, check out that episode, Barry starts to do a little thinking during this offseason.
I want to say this, though. In 98, he does join the 400-400.
Yes, he does.
First player to do it. I think because I feel like there's like this point, and we've brought this up, which is one of my favorite things that he's ever said. But I feel like he's at this point where it's like, I need to make a change because the feeling of baseball changed.
Yeah.
Like the hype around being a 30-30, a 40-40 guy was almost just like not there. It was like all home runs.
I might be the best baseball player of my generation, but chicks dig the long ball.
Chicks dig the long ball, bro. And we see, and this is kind of funny for like retrospect or whatever, hindsight, you see like, oh, he gets a little injured in this 99 season when he starts fucking juicing.
Allegedly, Chris.
You know what? Just whenever we say anything, it's allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Because of the implication. No. So going into spring training, because listed on his baseball card, Barry Bonds is 6'1", 190. Shows up to Phoenix for spring training, and teammate Charlie Hayes said, "Did you see my man? He was huge."
Yeah, I mean, I think he gained like 30 pounds of muscle, which is insane.
So due to the rapid muscle growth over an off-season of hard training, tears his triceps and is only limited to 102 games. Still 34 dingers and 84 RBIs. Nothing to sneeze at at all.
You can see that this is what happens when guys get right on roids. They almost work out too much. They get these little tears. They get these.
No, Chris. Mark McGwire was just simply injury prone.
It's true. It's true.
This is also the season with the famous All-Star game at Fenway Park where they name the All-Century team. Barry's not on the All-Century team.
It is quite the slap in the face if you look at it. Ken Griffey Jr. makes it, which Ken Griffey Jr. should make.
Deserve to make it, 100%.
Nobody's saying that. We're just saying, like, if Ken Griffey's making it, Barry should 100% be making this team. And what essentially the writers are saying was just like, we don't care how good you are. We'll never like you.
And these writers... you can't be David Ortiz named in the Mitchell report and be this jolly Dominican palling around with the fucking press. Oh, no. So you're just a dick. Barry Bonds. You know who was a dick? Ty Cobb was a dick. Probably way more than Barry Bonds.
Oh, yeah.
Like, recognize greatness. He doesn't have to be... Barry wasn't committing any, like, felonies or anything.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Wasn't saying racist things. Year 2000, though, gets kind of back on track.
Yes.
All-Star, Silver Slugger. Second in the MVP to our boy Jeff Kent, who is also a giant dick who clashes with Bonds on many of an occasion.
That is such a weird relationship.
Yeah.
And this is something to, like, what we say about Barry, where he's just like, I almost never talked to him.
Yeah.
Where to Barry's, like, not to his credit, but to his personality, he almost has, like, he literally doesn't care about the other players. He won't even interact with you.
Well, what was it? Dusty Baker had the best quote, because I brought it up in the Ken episode. He was basically like, I don't know why they hated each other. They were basically the same person.
Yep.
Like... hits 306, 49 dingers, led MLB in OPS plus and the NL in walks. Giants win the NOS this year. They had a pretty good team.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, after losing the MVP to Jeff Kent, Barry decided instead of even listening to the reward, he called the head to know if he was going to get it, and then he said, screw it, I'm going to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when this is still regular postseason, Barry Bonds hits 176 and losing to the Mets in the NLDS.
Well, it's constant where his postseason just drops like literally 150 points. And
it's not like he didn't have protection in this lineup either.
I know.
Like with fucking Kent, I think JT Snow was on. Yeah, because he had the game-winning homer in the game that they actually won. 2001, though, we get into some real greatness, Chris.
Well, this is when you see the peak of his
training.
Whatever you want to call it. Training sounds good because, right off of the bat.
Trainer Greg Anderson.
There you go.
He's doing some work this season. Was an all-star, wins the MVP, Silver Slugger. April of that year hits his 500th dinger. And then what we find out by July, he's got 45 on the season, is making a real push towards Mark McGwire.
He had 39 by the All-Star break, which was the record to have by the All-Star break. So people are saying, like, this is it. We're seeing these records get crushed.
And then by 9/11, he has 63.
Yeah.
Which is insane because you still have, because of what happened on 9/11, another month to go.
Yeah.
As far as games to play. And on October 5th, hits his 71st in the first inning off of Chanho Park to set the record, and then 72 in the third.
I love that, where he hits one and then another.
It's nice that he's doing it against the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Fuck the Dodgers.
Well, I love that, too, because that is their rivals. So it's like it's always in – because he literally hits two, not just one, on that game, on that record-breaking day.
And then on the last day of the year, hits 73.
Yep.
Leads MLB in homers, walks, on-base percentage. And I wanted to bring this up about his on-base percentage. Over 500. You know why? Because he gets all of those walks and intention. Because this is the season where they start just saying, I'm not pitching to him.
No, this is literally where he starts getting like a ridiculous amount of intentional walks.
But see, the thing is, and about his plate discipline, which, enhancement or not, the self-discipline to only swing when the ball is in a certain window of your strike zone, and every time it comes into that window to be able to put it into play and put it far away, that's utterly ridiculous.
No, that was the thing. He had the skill, and I wonder if they were giving him the credit he deserved if he would have done this.
Yeah. Right? Oh, totally. That offseason, although how old is he at this point? Like 36? Mm-hmm. The Giants reward him. Oh, he's at age 37, yeah.
Yep.
A new contract, 5 years, $90 million.
Well, they know after that season, just the name is worth that. Yeah. Just the name.
2002, this is probably just as special as 2001, only guys are just pitching to him less, which basically describes his tanking of, stats. And I won't say tanking because, hey, he wins a batting title this year. Hits 370. What else does he have here? 46 dingers, 110 RBIs, 198 walks.
This is when you start seeing literally, it's not even like when they're not intentionally walking him, they're still throwing him just ridiculously outside pitches. Like, no, we're not throwing anywhere near you.
His on-base percentage was .582. What the hell? But this is the year, because the Giants get the wild card. The D-backs actually, after winning the World Series, they do win the NL West this year. He turns his postseason fortune completely around this year. In the NLDS against the Braves, he hits .294 with 3 dingers. The NLCS against the Cardinals hits .273 with a homer and 6 RBIs and 10 walks. I think that series was only 6 games.
Yeah.
God. And he makes it for the first time to his first World Series. And, I'll get into what happens, but I'm going to spoiler alert. This might be the only World Series that I've ever seen where a player on the losing team still deserved to win the MVP.
Well, and I'll say this because they end up losing to the Angels.
Yeah.
There's a movie about exactly what happens.
Where the Angels kind of like cheat.
Yeah, where this kid, he like wants his father to come back, but the way they do it is that the Angels are going to win. But that's the thing is Barry is in league with Satan. Should we be saying this?
Chris, all I'm going to say is, why do you need to fix sports games to bring your deadbeat dad back? Just ask Jesus for a new dad played by Detective Murtaugh.
You don't understand Disney, do you?
Riggs. Any hoodles.
So they end up losing to the Angels, but you're right, and this is like the
he hits a homer in his first at bat in the series.
This is the postseason that he straight up says like, no, I am good in the postseason, like you were saying, and yeah,
he hits 4 home runs, 471, 6 RBIs, and is walked intentionally 7 times. The Giants have a 3-2 series lead, and in Game 6, I think they're up 5-0 in the 6th or 7th inning before Dusty Baker, for whatever reason, pulls Russ Ortiz and the wheels come off. Game 7, they end up losing. John Lackey has a great pitching performance, and that's as close as who would ever get to a World Series. And at least he had this one, though, to kind of like put it to rest, because that was his big knock. Every time they went to the postseason in Pittsburgh or San Francisco, he just did not produce.
It was horrible. It was like a huge drop in numbers. And this one, he had like the ridiculously good World Series, which sucks. Like, you're right. They literally had Game 6 in their hands.
I do not know how the hell that Angels team won.
Yeah.
They weren't on paper and even on the field. They shouldn't have even been on the same field as the Giants. Like, seriously. 2003, still a great year. Hits 341, 45 dingers, 90 RBIs. Getting walked all the time, though, now.
So many walks.
Sad year for him. His dad ends up dying. The Giants do win the NL West. Unfortunately, for him, they play the Marlins again. And whenever the Marlins make the playoffs, just weird things happen, and they end up winning, while the Giants end up losing. But it is in September of this year that the Bay Area Lab Cooperative, known as Balco, run by Victor Conti, is investigated.
I thought that was his dog.
That was his dog. No, that was his parrot. I think Anderson was his dog.
So this is when, I mean, the things that are obvious when we're seeing it is kind of coming to light, I guess, is the thing. Like, they're like, oh, he had steroids literally in his locker sitting there. So it wasn't like he was hiding it at all. You know what I mean? Like, a reporter literally looked into his locker and saw all of these essentially enhancement, supplements. So
and under under oath with these federal agents, these guys are talking about bonds and supplying him with certain items of performance-enhancing value. In December 2003, a federal grand jury wants him to discuss his Balco relationship, which is kind of crappy because when you're talking about your MVP season you just finished, another MVP, by the way, the wheels start to kind of come off on the facade a little bit. You know what I mean?
Well, this is kind of where we start to see baseball get the hatred on it.
Putting that stank on it.
The stank on it, because the home run race kind of like revitalized it. Everybody was into it, and then it got to this thing of like, oh, is there something else going on? Is this not the baseball that we know and love? Which you're like,
to quote you in a previous episode, as we've discussed with gambling or hard drugs or now steroids, baseball would rather live in shit than work a shovel, and this was that coming to a head for this specific thing.
Exactly, because they know that it's happening. It's just like the greenies, just like the amphetamines, just like all of that. Baseball is not unaware of this. It just becomes so obvious that they're like, oh, it smells in here? Okay, I guess we'll start cleaning up.
The San Francisco Chronicle at this point said he was being provided. Barry said during this investigation, during the federal grand jury, that he was in a secret testimony, so this was obviously leaked, being supplied with the clear and the cream, different kinds of steroidal rubs. And Barry alleges the trainer told him it was flaxseed oil.
Yeah, which is such bullshit.
He's the greatest baseball player, regardless of this, that I have ever seen, arguably the best of his generation. But if you're a professional athlete and you don't know 100% what's going into your body, the thing that makes you so much money, I'm going to have to call bullshit on that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. 2004, MVP again, batting title, 45 dingers, 101 RBIs. He led the league. This is how many walks.
This is the statistics that are so insane in this is the walks. He gets 232. I think the next guy didn't have 100. I'm just saying, like, he literally was like 3 times the amount.
The way baseball is played today, there are all-stars who might not get that in an entire career.
Yeah, no, that's not even it. That's what's so crazy about this. And he still had a 362 batting average. So he was just like, no. If you throw it over the plate, I'm going to hit it.
Well, that's why I said about the plate discipline. Yes. I don't know if these enhancements help as far as your eyesight and your brain's ability to say no to things, but to wait on pitches like that and make solid contact, my God.
No, he was one of the best hitters ever. I'm not talking about steroids. I'm just talking about Barry Bonds as a man. He starts to get close to Hank Aaron's record at this point, and this is where the shit talking really starts to intensify. Everywhere outside of San Francisco?
Yes, everywhere. No, in 2005, he barely plays because he has some knee surgeries. But granted, he's fucking 41, right?
He did make $22 million that year. Because this is the point where he starts to sign one-year contracts.
Yeah.
2006, it's his 21st season.
Passes Babe Ruth in May.
It's crazy.
Leading the league in walks.
Just to have 21 seasons like this, and then...
Can I talk about a story on opening day of that year?
Oh, yeah.
I remember watching this in my college dorm room. They're playing San Diego at Petco, and I think it was after the first inning. Bonds is coming into the dugout from left field, so he's going into the dugout, and a fan throws a plastic syringe on the field at him, which is
awesome.
Go Padres, yes.
He snuck it in his pants.
Well, he keistered it, obviously, because that's how things are done. Throwing the plastic syringe. And then in 2007, he's an all-star.
But in 2006...
Oh, 2006, we have to bring it up.
Yeah. September 22nd.
Yeah.
He ties Hank Aaron's record, and then the next day he ends up beating it, which he did that with which I love. He did that with the single-season record, where he's like, I tied it last night, and I'm beating it today. Which this is what I mean. He's like quite the showman.
756 to put yourself above Hank Aaron, and this is when everyone outside of San Francisco starts going, come on, man.
Yeah, they were really talking a ton of shit on him and saying that there should be an asterisk by this record. All of that kind of talk was going on. Hank Aaron said that he congratulated Barry, but he's not going to be at any of the ceremonies because there's just so much bullshit with it.
Hank Aaron is just a class act, though. He was a class act of a human being, top to bottom. So even though he's setting all these records, following season leads to Major League Baseball in walks.
2007, I saw the MLB because
that was August 7th. That was the year that he passed Hank Aaron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So 756 off Mike Bassick of the Nationals. And after finishing the season with 762 home runs, he gets popped for obstruction of justice.
Yeah.
In November of that year. And by that point, at his age, and as the Giants are now starting to rebuild kind of the core of what ended up becoming a little mini dynasty in the following decade, they don't want him back.
I thought this was interesting. Mm-hmm. So this is where you see baseball not caring about baseball, because he comes off one of his greater hitting seasons. He's still able to hit. Nobody picks him up, even as a designated hitter.
Well, here's the thing, and I think part of this is baseball almost blackballing him, is finishes his career with 2,935 hits. Could have got to 3,000. He could have got to 800 home runs if he is a DH with 762.
Yep.
He needed 24 RBIs and 69 more runs to set those records for all-time in Major League Baseball history, along with 37 extra base hits to pass Hank Aaron's total. I really think there was some, kind of shady stuff going on not to bring him back for a year when he probably could have played one more season.
At least. He actually sued the MLB. Did you see that?
No,
He sued him over this because he felt like there was some collective fucking behind the scenes. I forgot even what the terminology is, because he felt like this is the thing that everyone's saying. It was just like, how would you not pick him up as the DH? I think MLB got away with it, saying that teams didn't want the baggage.
Yeah.
So like they were able to.
Had the Giants not been in that rebuild mode, I think they would have brought him back, because that's
I can't believe they didn't.
Well, they needed to clear some roster spots for some
they
guys
definitely
who
did,
played a very huge role. But if only one team was going to sign him, it would have been San Francisco.
Yeah.
Because those people were so, I don't want to say oblivious. It's just like nothing happened during those seasons.
I feel like the Marlins could have done it if they were doing one of those.
You
know what I mean? It was just like, we're bringing in Barry for one season.
Well, they brought him in as a hitting coach later. But,
I know, which is weird, but that's the Marlins.
But finishes his career. I did want to bring up from that obstruction of justice and perjury. He did, one of them they ended up throwing out, but he did serve 30 days of house arrest for all of those legal shenanigans.
2-year probation.
And then by 2015, the court overturned his conviction on appeal. So technically did nothing wrong there.
That's right.
Just like a certain running back for the Buffalo Bills, only, way less tragic. Way less tragic. 14-time All-Star, 7-time MVP, 8 Gold Gloves, 12 Silver Sluggers, and 2 batting titles. I'm just gonna say this about Barry Bonds. He belongs in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Even if you erase everything he does post-year 1999, 2000, even if you erase that, those are Hall of Fame numbers. And I will say the same thing for someone like Roger Clemens. Eliminate everything he did in Toronto and New York and Houston later. Still a Hall of Famer.
Well, there was a writer who came out and said in the 90s, Barry was the best player. Just that. I'm just saying that he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, like you were saying. And Major League Baseball has blackballed him to such an extent that
it honestly makes me angry, and it makes me mad the way the voting is set up as far as these writers having all of this power and guys who haven't even covered the game in close to decades.
Yeah,
Just because he was a dick to you doesn't take away from what he did on the field. And if you want to disregard a section of his career where it's more than likely that he was taking performance-enhancing drugs, go ahead and do it. Tell me a better baseball player in the 90s, at least position player, than Barry Bonds.
Yes.
You can't do it. Name me a better pitcher in the 90s or late 80s than Roger Clemens. Can't freaking do it. But he said mean words to me. I don't give a shit.
Name me a better drinker than Wade Boggs.
Yes.
Fuck off.
He's in the Hall of Fame of drinking, Chris.
Goddamn right.
Bobby Bonds is sitting next to him and coach. Anyway.
Oh, man, that's quite the flight.
Oh. What are you doing, Boxy? One more thing. We had talked about it before the podcast. Barry is not in a lot of these video games for baseball.
Oh, yeah. I thought this was really interesting.
This is an interesting thing we can close with.
He takes his own rights. So a lot of the time, these guys, they have like a giant thing with MLB, and MLB signs their rights or sells their rights as like a collective thing. Like, you get all of these players.
Yeah.
He took his rights for himself because he thought he was going to have like his own video game, like the Ken Griffey Jr. Super Nintendo game.
Which is an awesome game.
Love that game.
Oh, me too.
But that was his thought, and literally because there's one baseball game now, it's MLB The Show, and they're just like, yeah, we don't want you in our game. That's their response, is just like, that's great.
He
You're
really
fine.
underestimated how many people did not like him.
Yeah, because they literally were like, no, yeah, we're good. We don't care about you. And he was like, no, but why don't people like me? Why don't...
The lack of self-awareness, but it's that tunnel vision, man. To be that great, maybe you need it. I don't know, but say what you will about the guy. Best ball player I've ever seen.
I was going to say, it's hard to say somebody deserves to be in the Hall of Fame more than Pete Rose, but I do think Barry Bonds does. I'm just saying it's a crazy situation that baseball has.
Yeah, and I think it's complete and total bullshit.